In the early years of the 17th century, Lord Bacon described the great structure of science as the house of the 6 days' work. He declared also that Solomon's house, as he called it, represented the total structure of man's mental and emotional maturity. That it signified all learning, slowly building in the Word. That it represented the slow but inevitable growth of human understanding. That we are all here as workmen upon the eternal house, which is sometime to be the symbol of a perfect human society. Thus the Temple of Solomon, with all its workmen, with its wonderful plans and designs, its arts and its ornamentations, can represent the universe itself, built by the orders and hierarchs of heaven. And it can also represent this mysterious, invisible universe, the universe of human consciousness, the universe which man himself is fashioning through the growing and unfolding powers of his own faculties. And it is in this direction that the mind of Kabbalism penetrated most deeply. And to understand their thinking, we must go back with them a little way and study the minds and the thoughts of these old scholars and rabbins who sought to interpret what they regarded to be the divine destiny for man. According to the old instruction, and certainly the temple itself and the manner of its building sustains the belief, there actually exists upon earth only one humanity. Broadly, to this one humanity can be given the name, the chosen people. Chosen not by self-election, but by the election of heaven. That the tribes of Israel represent mysteriously all peoples. For these 12 tribes, with their affinity for the signs of the zodiac, do definitely represent the entire order of life that is born under the 12 signs, divided into tribes, each with certain attributes and qualities and characteristics. And from these tribes were chosen the artificers, the workers. And from each tribe some were selected, both in the rites of the tabernacle and in the rites of the temple. Because the perfection of this work was the result of the union of all peoples, all faiths, all skills, all arts, and all sciences. Now, if man will build this house of the future, his religions, his philosophies, and his faiths tell him that it must be a strange symbol. It must again bear witness to all the laws of nature. In the structure of this city, or this temple, every inconsistency must be reconciled. Every conflict must be remedied or removed. Every possible fault must be corrected. Otherwise, the house will not stand. When it is complete, therefore, it is a shining, glittering, mysterious, crystal-like monument, a perfect representation in the life of man of the law of heaven. Heaven thus comes to earth when its rules become the ways of human conduct. The power of heaven is vindicated only when man discovers that by no other power can his own works be perfected. So it is said that the power of God, or the glory of God, is revealed through this great work, which shines like the eternal city of Revelation. And it is built upon a great foundation, made of the precious jewels of virtue and integrity. Now, when this city is so built, and its peoples have all achieved their proper labors, and the time comes for each workman to receive the compensation for his labor, that compensation will be indeed more than sufficient. For in that compensation he will be rewarded by having a world worth living in, a world in which all things that are real can have their chance. Now, there is an ancient legend also in the Kabbalah that when this world has finally been made so perfect that it is indeed heaven on earth, then a double mystery will occur in space. Heaven will descend and occupy this house, and this house will ascend and occupy heaven. They will be brought together as one house. There will no longer be any division between things mortal and things immortal, between the human and the divine. Perhaps this is a religious symbol to signify the final identity of human consciousness with the consciousness of God. Perhaps what they are telling us is that this whole great discipline is a kind of yoga, and that in the final realization of it, not as an experience of consciousness alone, but as an experience of consciousness made manifest in the flesh of things, that when man achieves this marvelous insight, creates this nirvanic structure, achieves this Atman of attainment, that he will be united forever with the everlasting plan, which is, of course, the great house. In any event, our present project does not necessarily burden us with the direct challenge of ultimates. What we are concerned with at the present moment is to make our proper footings in this great plan. We do not claim that the vision of the Supreme Architect has been bestowed upon us. We do not say that we know the end. All that we know is that we have been given certain skills, and that we are confronted by certain unfinished work, that the great structure of universal life is as yet unfinished, that it is our right and privilege, therefore, to build upon the old footings only that which we can understand and know to do. We can make our contribution. We are not expected to finish it, but we are expected to leave it more advanced than we found it, certainly no worse. We are expected to have evidenced our sincerity by joining the builders of the past in passing on to the future a work further advanced in all of its essential parts. We do this same thing in the building of humanity itself. Human society is a great building. Through our children and our grandchildren, we pass on something of a maturing humanity that must sometime come of age, and in its maturity shall glorify all that has labored to bring about this better condition. So little by little, progress is helping us to build a house. We have numerous setbacks because we are inadequate and selfish peoples. But we also see signs of the glory to come. We begin to sense that it will be possible for men to worship side by side. That little by little, holy wars will become only sad memories in the experience of the race. For actually, the great temple, the great symbol of this universal house, is man's citizenship in the universe itself. man extending himself finally until he is one of the great creative agencies of nature, that he truly, as the Kabbalists pointed out long ago, shall be greater than the angels, and that man himself is a hierarch, one of the great creative orders of life, that his real labors begin in space, not simply here. This was the view of the Kabbalists, who declared that it was man's ultimate duty, ultimate privilege, to be one of the great hierarchies before the throne of eternal grace, receiving the commandments of the Most High, and going forth upon the winds like the cherubim, to carry the laws of the universe to the most ultimate distances of space. So the old Jewish Kabbalists, in their concept of the building of the temple and the reestablishment of the holy city, were not thinking that someday the state of Israel would rise upon the ruins of Zion. They did not really mean merely the restoration of Israel or the return of the peoples to the land of their birth. What they really meant, as old Rabbi Akiba himself knew, was that the return of Israel was the return of the wandering human soul to its citizenship in space. That it was the coming home of the spirit from the smallness and darkness of its own defeat, returning like the prodigal son to the house of its father. This return, therefore, to the promised land is the return of the human soul to God and space and the infinite. And this is also a part of man's problem. That man shall sometime realize the tremendous wisdom that has guided him. That he shall give thanks for the eternal love that has protected him. And that out of the fullness and greatness of his respect and veneration and understanding, he shall now build the eternal temple on Mount Moriah. And out of all of his dreamings and all of his hopings, he builds the temple of his religion, his true faith. And this true faith is his wondrous recognition of the infinite skill, purpose, and law upon which his life is built. This is his new religion, cutting through all sects and creeds, and standing as an eternal testament to the fact that at last he understands, that he recognizes, realizes, and appreciates the wonderful world in which he exists. And he has built a monument to his own understanding. And this monument, because he understands, is dedicated to the fountain of all understanding, that divine grace upon which all things depend for their existence. So out of the clash of creeds can come the temple of this one realization, the realization of one divine power, moving all things, guarding all things, guiding all things. And as this temple builds, man builds it because of the increasing and unfolding regard in which he holds life, and holds principles, and holds truths. As this temple grows, it becomes not only a place of worship, but truly the golden age he looks for. For this temple is his new world, a world in which he proves that he not only understands, but that he is grateful, and that it is now his opportunity to build his trestle board, to design his patterns, and to prove that he has learned well the lessons which he has been given through the countless, measureless periods of the prehistoric world.